Welcome to Itsouryear Sports. We did an absolutely terrible job predicting how the Sweet 16 and Elite 8 would go, but we're going to break it down anyway, even though the internet as a whole has asked us to stop. So let us start with the Midwest bracket. I did not enjoy, personally, what took place in the Midwest bracket. I had two main objectives in the Midwest bracket. And that would be I went to Michigan State and I wanted them to win, and they lost to Duke. And I picked Duke in my tournament to go all the way. And if they would have won, if they would have just beaten Louisville, I would have won both the brackets I was in and won $300, which is a big deal for guys like me.
That's dinner.
So it didn't happen. And last week I think we made a mistake. We said that since there wasn't a lot of big-time competition, NBA stars, that kind of thing, going on in the tournament this year, we thought that perhaps the top coaching would be what would come out. We're actually incorrect. The talent is so mediocre and similar that it's actually the coaches can't coach the talent any better than they are. And I just mean for in Louisville and Syracuse's case is a system is what's kind of winning. So if Louisville and Syracuse go to the finals, I think it's going to be proof that this was a really mediocre year, just because Louisville runs that full court press, Syracuse runs a really effective zone, and that was kind of what I took away from the Midwest. I still think that Louisville is the overall team to beat, but I really think that any one of these four teams, including Wichita State, could very well hold the trophy in the end.
Well, just going through the Midwest, I feel like Louisville, especially after that injury to Ware, they played inspired basketball against Duke. Russ Smith reminds me of a mix between D. Brown from back in the Illini days, and he's just like the one-man fast break. And Peyton Siva does a great job of just controlling the pace. He's always got he's probably one of the best balanced point guards I've seen. He never over dribbles, always cuts through the lanes, has his head up, finds the open guy. I feel like they had the right personnel to run both the full court press and Rick Pitino's offense. So I find that the system Louisville runs, along with the talent level of their players, far surpasses anybody else, especially in that Midwest region, which is surprising because that Midwest looked stacked at the beginning of the tournament.
I think it was still pretty stacked. I think that I thought it was funny that Seth Curry went like 6 for 7 on threes against Michigan State, and then just gets held to 0 points in the first half against Louisville. So thanks for that, Seth Curry. Thanks for showing up against Louisville. Ruins my personal life, and then ruins my bank account potential life as well.
Who cares about the Midwest? The only interesting thing that came out of that bracket was the injury, which was the most ridiculous injury in sports. So that's the only thing that came out of that bracket, in my opinion. Who really, like, nothing interesting happened. State somehow Duke got hot against State, and then Louisville got hot against Duke, and it's just boring to me. So next bracket. If it doesn't have Michigan beating Kansas in it, I don't care.
Right. Basically, it was just that Duke got hot against Michigan State, and they weren't hot against Louisville. And that Kevin Ware injury was just gruesome, and I don't think we even really need to talk about it. But it was gruesome, and I was watching the game with Dre, actually, in a bar because he was out in Los Angeles. And he, had to leave the bar. He had to, do a lap outside. I went to the bathroom, too. I didn't want to see the replay anymore. I didn't – you know what I mean? It was tough, too, because we were in a bar, and everyone's, all jovial, and Dre and I were, two of the only people actually, intently watching the game. Most people were just there. And we saw it, and we were like, oh, no, when it happened live, the whole bar just, got quiet, and everyone was sad. And it was a really weird experience, but I heard he's going to be fine in 6 months anyway. So
I'll give CBS credit for that, though. They actually just showed that injury, live, and then maybe 1 or 2 replays, and then they stopped showing it. So, I give them credit for that. They didn't keep on, repeating it, super slow-moing it, showing exactly where the bone broke, and whatever Fox or some other network would have done.
What did you take away from the West bracket?
Ohio State's a joke. I mean, Ohio State is a joke. In terms of that's one of those teams that had so much talent. They totally underperformed. I mean, those kids would have played if they played 10 games, they would have won 9 of them. They had so much more talent on their team. They would have beaten them one-on-one. Every single one of the matchups would have won one-on-one. But they just don't care. I don't know what it is, but they stopped letting Kraft be the point guard, and then he turns into the shooting guard. And he's not really a great shooter. So I don't understand what goes through their mind when they're like, oh, yeah, we're just going to keep taking jump shots. Like, that's just what pisses me off about college basketball. They just keep taking jump shots because it works when they're wide open, and then a team decides to play some defense, and all of a sudden it's a lot tougher. So that's the only takeaway I have there.
Personally, when talking about the West bracket, I thought that was one of the more entertaining brackets, mainly because Ohio State was hanging on to every game until the last possession, pretty much every game that they played, and eventually it caught up to them, and they couldn't hit a game-winning 3 with time running out like they did the last 2 games. And Wichita State's really interesting to me. Obviously, playing LaSalle in the Sweet 16. I mean, I wasn't that impressed by LaSalle. And so Wichita State actually ended up destroying them. And the Elite Eight, I kind of agree with Hamid. Ohio State really underperformed and stopped playing to their strengths, letting Kraft bring it up. And Wichita State took advantage of that, give them credit. And now we have Wichita State in the Final Four against a clearly superior Louisville. So the fact that I'm picking Louisville is probably a sign to start betting heavily for Wichita State moving forward.
We just did horrible last week. I don't know if you guys know this, but we did really bad last week picking these games. Yeah. Like you guys are saying, it was boring. The Ohio State-Arizona game was entertaining, but you kind of had to feel that Ohio State was going to win the whole time. I don't think that, like you were saying, I don't think that they stand much of a chance against Louisville. But also, as you said, that means that if I were a viewer, I would go to Las Vegas right now and bet everything that I had on Wichita State.
So we can probably skip the South. We don't really have to talk about the South.
Oh God. I'll talk about the South.
No, I think we're all set on the West bracket. LaSalle lost, by the way. There, that's all the news that's relevant for LaSalle. They're no longer in the tournament, and they might never be in it ever again.
Adi, how many LaSalle games did you watch this year?
About 7. 7 games.
Here you go, Hamed. You ready?
I'm ready.
Let's talk about the South bracket. Now, one of our correspondents, Hamed Moshrefi, this extremely jovial man over here, was actually at the Kansas Michigan game.
So it was
with a fully grown beard. Now, Hamed, why don't you take us through your experience at the Kansas
let me walk you through
as a Michigan fan.
As a fan of basketball.
Please.
No, I mean, we got to the game, couple minutes late. No big deal. We missed the Mitch McGary, Elijah Johnson punch in the midsection or wherever he was going for. Yeah, it was pretty amazing. Got to Dallas. I've been to Cowboy Stadium before. The last time I was there was October 2nd, 2011, when Lions were down 24 points. Calvin Johnson caught it over 3 people.
Megatron.
So walking into Cowboy Stadium, never been there for a basketball game. If you've ever been to a football stadium for a basketball game, you know that it's awful for 78% of the people there. It's like the worst viewing experience. You can't even see the court. But at Cowboy Stadium, they've got the biggest screens in the country, so it's awesome. But
the screen was bigger than the court. That was incredible to me.
No, it really was, and they did a really good job. I mean, they sold a decent amount of tickets, but it's all Kansas. And, we got to see for 37 minutes, I was living a nightmare and thinking that my road losing streak was going to go to 8. And that all I could think about was, how am I going to sell my Sunday tickets? Am I going to give them to the StubHub last minute services, or am I going to sell them to a Kansas fan? Because obviously I bought this trip. So with 4 minutes left, everything started to change. We started to believe the Kansas fans were doing their Rock Chalk Jayhawk, walking away, getting ready for a matchup with Florida probably, and it happened. I mean, the Glenn Robinson picking up the ball and putting it in. I was yelling for a timeout. I thought that was bad coaching on Beeline's part to not call a timeout on that because the jump ball would have gone Kansas's way. And then the shot that arguably changed the course of my life
forever.
Right?
Altered
forever, right? No, the shot. You got to admit, 4 seconds left, jacking up a contested three from 10 feet behind
away,
the arc. Like 35 feet away. It was like 5 feet behind an NBA three, and when that shot felt like I was just yelling at the top of my lungs against Trey Burke. As soon as that shot went in the air, I was like, how can you throw away this opportunity at history to come back down 14? And it somehow went in, and then from there, every Jayhawk fan was silent, and we're yelling Rock Chalk Chokehawk for about the next 15 minutes as we got through the overtime and the stoppages. And I don't know, it was just the most
I'd like to make an observation here in the middle of this. From what you're telling me, you would have called the timeout on that Glenn Robinson play, and you would have not had Trey Burke hit that shot. So if you were coaching the Michigan Wolverines, there's a good chance that they'd be home.
Yeah, you're right, but that's just it. These things somehow go in. Like it's just incredible. I mean, it was one of the most incredible weekends I could ever ask for, and to go into the Sweet 16 and just manhandle Florida. I mean, Florida didn't have a chance. I couldn't even yell at Florida fans because they left the game so soon. I mean, it sucked. So, no, I got Michigan going all the way. I've had Michigan going all the way. I believe in this team. They're built for the tournament. You can talk about the lack of talent all you want, but Michigan has real NBA talent on their teams. Some of these other teams do, but even though Michigan may not be playing like a unit, they're probably one of the youngest teams left, and they have real NBA talent. So, to me, they're going all the way. Can we talk about Kansas and memorable Kansas?
What about Kansas?
For them choking? I mean, are they really our new age choke team?
No, that's Georgetown. That's 100% Georgetown.
Oh, yeah, you're right.
There's a couple of teams that I would consider like the choke teams of our generation. I would say that Kansas is one of them. Georgetown is like the front runner right now. And I like Pittsburgh is a pretty big choke team.
Yeah,
they choke every year. Gonzaga, in my opinion, is a choke team. They haven't been like out of the Sweet 16 or something like since 1999, since the one time that they did it. Well, what I basically took away from the game was that, yeah, Kansas choked, but Michigan just got hot, and they haven't cooled off yet, which is frightening to me. Like, they're all sitting somewhere in a hotel room, like, flashing red. Like, their bodies are just flashing red, and they're just waiting to make more shots. I favor them over Syracuse currently. But, I mean, other than that, I guess staying in the South bracket, it was a shame to see the Florida Golf Course University run come to an end. Florida Golf Course University put up a really good fight. But and actually, for a second, I thought that they were going to beat Florida when they were up 10 or whatever in the first half. Then they just lost it and never got it back. And I don't know. I kind of wish they would have won now, just so I could have seen – like what kind of BS they could have pulled off against Michigan instead of just watching Florida get their ass handed to them. But, yeah, Michigan surprised me. Like I said, I had them out the first round against South Dakota State. And that didn't really happen. And I thought certainly VCU or Kansas or Florida would knock them off, and it just hasn't happened yet. So I'm actually going to pick them now over Syracuse.
No. It's happening. The jinx is in.
It already happened. I'm on the bandwagon, Hamad.
No.
Sorry, bro. All right, Adi, what do you think?
No, with this game coming up, the Syracuse-Michigan game, I'm really excited to see this for one reason. I think this is going to make or break Glenn Robinson Jr.'s NBA draft stock, because he's the perfect player to really break the zone through the middle. One of the best ways to break the zone, get the ball in the middle, and then have the slasher, either cut to the hoop or have somebody, run through the backdoor screen. And I feel like with Glenn Robinson Jr., he's athletic enough, and he's got that mid-range shot if he needs to hit it. It's just about his consistency. I think that's what NBA scouts are looking to see, is if he can sustain it through the course of an entire game. And if he demonstrates that this game, I can see him as a late first-round pick, if not mid-first-round pick, come June.
I don't think he's going. I think the only guy that's going to go is Trey Burke. And just because you look at guys like Tim Hardaway Jr. and Glenn Robinson, I hate to say it, they don't really need the money. You know, they still have time to. Their parents are former, and we ran into actually Glenn Robinson when we were over there, celebrating when they were cutting down the nets. Probably one of the coolest moments to see people cut down the nets like 30 feet in front of you and everyone screaming. But anyway.
You just run into him. You high-fived him, too. Just, you know.
Yeah, I mean, he was right there, and it was like, boom, Glenn Robinson. So,
big dog.
What I'm thinking is, like, guys like Glenn Robinson, Tim Hardaway Jr.
Play-by-play on that.
Yeah. No, but Glenn Robinson, Tim Hardaway Jr., I mean, they don't need the money, you know, and I don't think they're NBA ready anyway. So I can actually see them coming back. Trey Burke is as good as gone. I mean, he's not going to get any better in terms of his draft stock. So.
Oh, yeah. Take the money, Trey.
That's an interesting observation that they don't need the money. I agree with that. But on the other hand, it's also a really down draft. So if there was a year to go, it might be this year just because who knows what next year's draft stock is going to look like, because it's all going to be the top freshmen that come in or whatever.
Right. I have Michigan winning this game too, so bet on Syracuse.
Oh, no.
All right, so looking at the East real quick, I know we already kind of discussed that we kind of think Michigan will handle Syracuse. They really shut down Indiana. I mean, they made Indiana look like a really average team. Indiana was allegedly the #1 team this whole year, and I kind of wanted to call bullshit on it. Just I don't know if that was my Big Ten unbiased inside my head that says the Big Ten's just never really going to provide like the most athletic or best team. But there's something about Indiana where I just wasn't buying into it. They were kind of like eking games out. They weren't really blowing good teams out, which I think is what you have to do to be the best team. Kind of like Louisville would occasionally slaughter a team in the Big East, like a Syracuse or someone like that. You have to be able to embarrass a good team, and I just didn't really see Indiana do that. So
can we go through Indiana's final game? I mean, if you think about it, if Michigan had finished the job on Indiana, which Indiana, that was a lucky win for them in Ann Arbor to finish the season. Indiana should have lost 3 straight Big Ten games going into the tournament, and in the tournament they went 1-1, right? Or no, they went 0-1 in the tournament. So when you think about it, Indiana realistically, they could have gone 4 or 5 out of their last 7. They could have lost, if you include all the tournaments and whatnot, if they had lost the Michigan games. So very unimpressive last 3 weeks for Indiana, 4 weeks.
Adi, one thing that he did call well last week was he said that Miami was a team that, although they had a good setup for the tournament, that they could kind of just get blown out at any point in time. They were kind of like subject to blowouts, just like an off game. And they definitely had an off game against Marquette and that was kind of just it. Yeah. Marquette took it to them after eking out a few wins prior to that. They finally sustained a decent lead and knocked out Miami. And and then Syracuse just made Marquette look even sillier than they made Indiana look. They've got the zone defense. It's just like Louisville's got the full court press, and it just seems like good coaches, Hall of Fame coaches, operating these systems this season is good enough to advance in this tournament, at least up until now. At least up until you play a offensive powerhouse like Michigan. I gotta say, I don't think Syracuse stands a chance against Michigan.
Not even close.
I don't even think it's gonna be close.
Nets are gonna be scorching in Atlanta.
Oh yeah, big
I don't think
time.
it's gonna be close.
Now this is actually not non-jinxing Michigan here. I feel that with a team that relies so heavily on the perimeter, and they've done really well so far this tournament, but you will always have a game where your guys aren't hitting shots, and you need to find a way to draw fouls, get the ball in, hit your free throws, because when the shot stops falling for some of your teammates, it's pretty contagious. That's what I've seen just based on my experience being around basketball. And I don't know if Michigan's that team that can really drive through Syracuse's zone. Syracuse placed their zone out 30 feet past, the basket, and they really stopped all that momentum that a point guard would build up to get into the lane, which, I'd be interested to see this matchup. If the shots are falling for Michigan, it's going to be a blowout. But if it's not, I think Syracuse has this one.
During my experiences around the game at Troy Community Center,
Around the game.
When
Various venues.
When fellow swingmen Adi Ramakrishna and Drew Sarna stopped hitting the three,
What's up?
I would stop hitting the three.
It's true. I've seen it.
Yeah. But no, I got Michigan by like 23 points, man. I don't even think this one's gonna be close. Big East sucks, so go blue.
I've got Michigan by 24 points. And Adi, you think that you think Syracuse is gonna pull this one off? Is that your official guess?
Tell you what, this is my bet. In the first 5 minutes, if Michigan isn't hitting their shots, I think Syracuse has this.
Do you think? I guess the follow-up question then is: do you think that Michigan will hit their shots in the first 5 minutes?
Oh, it's Michigan by 24.
You gotta pick someone, Adi.
Michigan by 24.
Right. All right. So we've got Michigan winning by an average of 23.67 amongst our bracket. And so we as a whole at itsouryear Sports firmly believe the Wolverines are headed to the title game.
Winning by 3 touchdowns.
I'm not gonna go that far. I won't go bluing anytime soon. But so we've got our panel has Michigan firmly. On the other side though, Hamed, Adi and I made it pretty clear we don't believe in Wichita State and that everyone should probably go bet on Wichita State. What do you think? How much of a chance do you give Wichita State?
I think Louisville is actually pretty overrated. Even though they beat Duke, Duke didn't hit a shot for 12 minutes, and that's not just because of the defense. Duke was missing open shots. So if you go more than a quarter of the game without hitting a shot, you're going to lose. Very rarely do you win those games. I can't even remember the last team that won one of those games. So you know what? I'm going to go with Wichita State, man. I'm going to have Wichita State, Michigan final. Just to make it a little easier on Michigan. And Michigan wins final, and they're cutting down banners and going home to Ann Arbor as champions.
If I'm not mistaken, that was your preseason pick for the national championship game, wasn't it? Michigan versus Wichita State.
I got Michigan. I'm in the 99th percentile for my brackets right now. So
makes sense. Adi, what do you think? So we both have a Michigan Louisville final.
Yeah.
Who do you have in that game?
I just feel like, well, that's actually a good point. Because Michigan at that point would be coming off of some impressive victories. I don't know. I still feel Louisville's the better team. And I like both Russ and Siva in the backcourt. It'll be a fun game to watch. I think it'll be really high scoring, and you're going to have a good matchup of that full court press versus Michigan's just NBA level athleticism. It'll be fun, but I have Louisville if it came down to that.
I agree. As much as I want to permanently jinx Hamed and the Wolverines, I have to take Louisville in this matchup if it in fact goes down. They're so rock solid and they score a lot of points, and the full court pressure is something that Trey Burke could probably potentially beat up on if they do it well. I mean, Michigan does run, I mean, they can beat if they can get behind the full court press and get some easy points. So I think that it will be close. And I think, like you said, it'll be an entertaining game. But in the end, it's kind of one of those things where I think that in their heads, they'll put Louisville on a pedestal, kind of like Michigan State put North Carolina on a pedestal a couple times.
What's so great about Louisville? Did you know Adi, you keep mentioning Russ and Siva. Did you know these guys prior to last weekend? I mean,
I knew Siva from last year's tournament. When he
Siva's been playing for like 20 years for Rick Pitino.
I feel like the only thing I know out of Louisville is Rick Pitino. That was the only thing I knew going in. And they play in the Big East, and everyone thinks they're good, yet they never actually come through. If they weren't playing in the Big East, would they still be where they're at? I mean, without that brand equity, would Louisville be Louisville? And I was trying to look at it. I mean, who did Louisville beat this year? They've lost to Notre Dame. They've lost to some of these mediocre teams. What's so great about Louisville? So I'm out.
I love that you threw in brand equity, by the way. That's probably the first time.
I mean, it's just crazy to me because everyone just hops on Louisville's bandwagon like crazy every year. And they continue to disappoint. So I'm going to go Wichita State, man. And I actually believe it. I think Louisville's going to lose this game. I think they're going to overlook Wichita State.
Here's my question, though. Let's say that Louisville handles Wichita State. You still have Michigan over Louisville if they play Louisville?
Oh, yeah. I don't think it matters who Michigan plays. They're a team of destiny. They're just one of those teams. I'm sorry. They're too good. They've got too much talent, and they're not going to be stopped. Even if they have a bad shooting day, they don't need all four of their 4 out of their 5 good players. They don't need them on at the same time. Whereas a team like Louisville, Siva, Russ, whatever, and name one of their big men, whoever it is, they need to have 3 guys with good games. I guarantee it. That's usually how basketball goes. But with Michigan, you've got so many different options between Stauskas, McGrady, and all the 3 guard or Robinson and Tim Hardaway and Trey Burke. The chances of 3 of those guys not being able to shoot is very rare. And even when they do have bad shooting games, they have so many different weapons that they're built for things like the tournament. They're not built for these grinded out, go play in East Lansing, go play in Bloomington, these huge matchups every single week on the road. They're not built for that grinded out type of play. They're built for the tournament play, fast tournament play. So I got Michigan.
So got 2 votes for Louisville over Michigan, and we've got 1 vote for Michigan over Wichita State from Hamed, who's texting, even though he's on national television. Very unprofessional.
Very.
Well, thanks for watching our horrible picks. They're all going to be wrong. So in theory, given our set of picks, it'll probably be Syracuse national championship. So thanks again for watching It's Our Year Sports. You can check us out on YouTube and pretty much on YouTube, or if you are Facebook friends with us, you can, or have my cell phone number, you can just call me and I'll send you a link.
Twitter too. Don't forget Twitter.
Yeah, we'll get around to Twitter.
MySpace.
All right.
Friendster.
Right. For Hamed Moshrefi, Adi Ramakrishna, Alex Smolinski, and Aaron Andrews, who's got me on some. I'm gonna hit up these probiotics. Thanks, Aaron. We will see you after the Final Four so that Hamed can gloat further.
Good night, Canada.